Good morning, and hey, welcome back to yoga. Today we're going to do a little uplifting flow to help kind of lift the mood, to energize the body, but then also bring it back down to relax and calm. So a little bit of both. So feel free to join in. If you have a blanket at home or wherever you're at, it will be super handy towards the end of practice today. And if not, don't worry about it. So let's begin standing. Finding a comfortable stance, a comfortable space in between those feet. They can be close together, hip width apart. Again, wherever you feel comfortable. And we're going to begin with a breathing exercise. It's called Breath of Joy. And this breathing exercise is a great exercise to do not only in the morning, but also just whenever you're feeling a little down and you just kind of want to uplift the mood and your energy level. It just helps bring a lot of oxygen into the bloodstream, helps to really fill the lungs with air. When often we just breathe into the upper portion of our lungs, so it just kind of helps to take that breath a little bit deeper, and helps to kind of cleanse the body too with that intentional breath out. So before we go into that though, go ahead and bring those hands to your heart center. And feel free to close your eyes or just turn those eyes downwards, finding a soft gaze. And just give yourself a moment here to check in. Checking in with maybe whatever mood you might be in. Checking in with what brought you here today. Just remembering sometimes the hardest part is just showing up, right? Just beginning, turning on that video to do some yoga. So you've made it that first step, the hardest step, so you're here now. And just appreciating this time that you've taken for yourself. For whatever reason that might be. Maybe beginning to notice how you breathe naturally. Whether it's through the nose or the mouth. Observing the depth of your breath. Maybe you breathe into the upper part of those lungs, or maybe you breathe a little deeper. Maybe finding just a gentle smile. Sometimes even if we don't mean it, when we intentionally smile, it kind of tricks our brain into releasing some of those happy, feel-good chemicals and hormones. So 2 more full breaths here. All right, and then as we move into this breath of joy, it consists of 3 breaths in and then 1 long breath out. So we're going to move our arms, we're going to hinge at the hips a little bit, I'll demonstrate, and then breathe with you. So as you breathe in, it's going to be 1 breath, we're going to palms facing up, so we breathe in through the nose, and then we bring those arms out, breathe in through the nose again, and then 1 more time, we're going to turn those palms in, breathe in through the nose as we lift those arms all the way up. And then on the breath out, we breathe out through the mouth, bending the knees, hinging at those hips, and just sweep those arms down and back. So it's going to look something like this. Make sense? All right. So it's a fairly quick movement. Really important though to, when you breathe out, just really intentionally press that air out of your mouth, like create that sound. And that really helps detoxify the body, the blood a little bit. So if at any point you feel a little lightheaded or not comfortable with it, always give yourself that option to stop. Just come back to standing and breathe naturally. So we are going to do 8 rounds of it. Don't worry about counting, I'll count for you. So when you feel ready, again, grounding down into those feet, soft bend in those knees. Let's finish that next breath out. And then we'll breathe in, and out. One more time. In and out. And go ahead and slowly come back to standing. Let those arms just relax along those sides. And just take a few full breaths in and out. You might need to continue to breathe out through the mouth for a few breaths to just let that remaining energy flow out. And just taking nice full breaths in, long breaths out. Once again, just notice and observe. Adding some movement to the body can have some awesome effects on the mind and the mood. So feel free to stay here as long as you'd like. But when you feel ready to continue on, arms can just relax along those sides, and we're just going to find a gentle movement swaying side to side. And just letting those arms relax, just beginning to twist and open through the hips, through that lower back, the middle back. And then just slowly unwinding as you make your way back to center. And that next breath in, we're going to lift those arms all the way up, reaching up tall. On the breath out, let's find a forward fold, bending those knees, hinging at the hips, and just relaxing the head down towards the ground. Maybe try moving that head side to side a few times, forward and back. And then we'll bring both hands to the floor and let's step those feet back, coming right into a downward dog. So lifting those hips up high, palms are grounding down into the mat. Maybe walking out those heels a few times if you'd like. Or again, you can move those hips side to side, or even the head, the neck. Just kind of listening to how the body wants to move. And then as you relax both heels towards the floor, let's come down to those knees, and we're just going to come onto all fours. So bringing those shoulders above those wrists, those hips above those knees. Just feeling the tops of your feet gently connect with the mat. And moving into a few cat and cows. So on that next breath in, we'll lift the crown of the head, try to reach that chest forward in between those arms as we lift the hips as well. And then on the breath out, we're going to round through the back. Lifting the belly away from the floor, chin comes towards the chest. And then inhaling as we lift, shoulders draw back and down. Exhaling as we round, gently tucking those hips. And just moving a few times with your breath. Let's take 2 more full breaths here. And then maybe that next breath out, as you start to engage that belly and lift it away from the floor, we're going to reach those hips back towards the heels, extending those arms forward a little bit further. Those palms can stay on the floor. And then on the breath in, we're just going to slide forward, dropping those hips towards the ground as we lift the crown of the head. So just coming right up into a high cobra. Exhaling, we're going to engage through that core, rounding through the back, hips reach towards those heels. And then inhale, just sweep that heart forward as we lift. Shoulders draw back. See if we can squeeze those shoulder blades together. Exhaling as we round. Extending through the arms, through the side body. Inhale, grounding down into those palms as we lift the ears up away from those shoulders. Exhaling, reaching hips back 2 more times with your own breath, 1 movement per breath. Inhaling as we open, exhaling as we reach back. And 1 more time. And go ahead and pause next time you come back into that child's pose. Resting your head on the mat, or maybe on your hands, or maybe they're hovering over the floor. Again, just bringing that awareness back into the body after starting to move around a little bit more. Just how that affects not only the body, but also the mind. Maybe the head feels a little clearer. Maybe you find that gentle smile once again. And then on the next breath in, let's extend those arms forward once again. And let's just walk both hands over to the right side. Gently leaning those hips over to the left, just taking 2 full breaths here as we breathe into that left side body. Softening those shoulders down towards the mat. And then slowly walking those hands back through center and over to the left side. Leaning those hips over to the right. Just 2 full breaths here. And then slowly walking those hands back to center. Gently beginning to lift those hips, maybe tucking the toes, and then we'll reach those hips back and all the way up, coming back to our downward dog. Let's inhale, the right leg is going to lift. And exhaling, we're going to bend that right knee and draw it forward as we step that right foot to the front, helping that ankle forward as much as needed. Left heel can drop to the floor as we turn the foot out to the side. And inhale, we'll slowly rise. Just go nice and slow as we lift the head, as we lift those arms. And exhaling, we're going to bend those elbows and open right into little cactus arms. My favorite chest and heart opener. So elbows are bending, reaching down towards the ground, but we're also reaching those hands back. The palms are facing forward. So let's move with our breath 3 times here. As we inhale, we're going to stand tall, straightening both legs, touching those hands together at the top. And then exhaling, cactus arms. Drop in the shoulders, drop in the elbows. Inhaling as we lift. Exhaling, bending that front knee and grounding down into that back foot. Inhaling as we rise, and one more time, exhaling, cactus arms, and pause in that warrior 1. So it's easy for all that weight to go into that front leg. See if we can keep those shoulders right above those hips and ground down a little more into that back foot. Feeling it nice and strong. And then inhale, let's go ahead and lift all the way up. Exhaling, hands to the floor, and we'll step all the way back right to our plank, coming to those knees and exhaling down to our chest and our belly. We're going to slide those arms forward until our elbows, our forearms, and our palms come to the mat. Elbows are under those shoulders. Next breath in, lifting as tall as we can. Lifting ears away from those shoulders. The crown of the head is lifting up towards the ceiling, but we're grounding down into those forearms and those palms. So we're not only lifting, but see if you can even reach that heart forward, the chest forward in between those arms as we draw those shoulders back. Just 2 more breaths as we pause in this Sphinx. And just using those pauses to check in. If you feel a sensation in the body that isn't so comfortable, maybe adjust, maybe modify, maybe breathe. And then on the next breath out, go ahead and lower down. Hands come underneath those shoulders. We'll inhale back up to those knees, tucking those toes so we can reach those hips back, and then inhaling them all the way up back to our downward dog. Next breath in, let's lift our left leg. Reaching it up, and exhaling, we'll bend that left knee, drawing the foot to the front. Right heel can lower to the floor, foot turns out to the side. Inhaling as we come all the way up to standing to that warrior 1. Nice and tall as those wrists come over those shoulders, shoulders over those hips, and see if we can relax those shoulders. Finishing that next breath out. And then on a breath in, maybe we lift a little bit taller. And then on the breath out, bending the elbows, drop in the shoulders, bending that front knee. Inhaling as we rise. Maybe those hands touch at the top. Exhaling, nice and strong into both legs. Inhaling as we lift, and one more time. Finding that pause right here in that warrior 1. Grounding down into the pinky toe edge of that back foot. Lifting that thigh away from the floor. And those elbows are actively reaching down and back. Maybe find that smile. Next breath in, go ahead and lift those arms back up, and exhaling, we'll lower all the way back down to the floor, stepping our foot back. Let's go right into our downward dog. And then we'll inhale forward to our plank, and go ahead and come to those knees. And if you have a blanket, let's bring that. So if you have a blanket, or maybe even your yoga mat would work as well. You can just scoot off to the side and then roll up your mat. Feel free to pause me as needed. So whatever you're using, just try to roll it up, okay? What we're gonna do, we're gonna lower back down to our chest and our belly, but this blanket is gonna come right above where those hips, the pointy part of that pelvis is. It's gonna come right above that. So that lower belly is gonna rest on the blanket. So go ahead and make your way down. And if you don't have a blanket or a mat, don't worry about it. You can just come back down to the chest and the belly. You can also use a pillow. Lots of options here. So once you lower down, if you are resting on a blanket or a pillow, it might not feel super comfortable, and that's normal. But just that gentle, subtle pressure on that lower belly, on the gut, helps release a lot of those feel-good chemicals that are stored there. The dopamine, the serotonin. So we're just gonna pause here for a few moments. So you are welcome to stay on those elbows, those forearms, or you can bring those palms together and gently lower down, resting your forehead on the palms. But again, just depending on the height of whatever you're resting on, might determine how low you want to lower down. But feel free to close those eyes or just find a spot on the floor to gently gaze at. And we're just going to take a moment here, about, 6 or 7 more breaths. Again, remembering you took this time for yourself. So when other things try to come in and distract you like they so easily do, maybe just try to shift that focus back to what brought you here, what you were hoping to get out of it. You can always bring that focus back to the breath, or listening or feeling any sensation in the body that arises. About 3 more breaths here. Okay, so again, you can stay here for as long as you would like, as long as you have time for today. But when you are ready, bringing those hands back underneath those shoulders so you can gently help lift the torso back up, and go ahead and just reach those hips back into that child's pose. Maybe gently rock those hips side to side. Or maybe if that forehead is connected to the floor, you can gently roll across the forehead, just back and forth. And then we'll slowly come back to center and just make our way up to those knees. We're going to swing those feet around to the front. And for this last part of practice today, we're going to lower down onto our backs, but again, we're going to use this blanket or yoga mat or whatever we might be using. But this time, instead of rolling it, maybe try to fold it to create a flatter surface. So we're going to bring this back, and as we lower down onto our backs, we just want to rest our shoulder blades, that upper back, across the blanket or whatever we might be resting on. Again, you can always just do this flat on the mat if you don't have a blanket. So as you lower down, the head is going to be a little bit higher than the heart. So See if you can just gently rest the top of the head on the ground. So it's a nice opening, not only for the heart center and the front of the shoulders, but also for the front of the throat as well. And if that doesn't feel super comfortable, you can extend the blanket a little bit so you're resting your head on it as well. Otherwise, maybe try opening those arms out to the sides, those palms facing up. See if you can feel that lower back or those hips connected to the mat. And you can keep your feet on the floor here, or you can extend those legs out in front of you. Or you can even bring soles of the feet together and do butterfly legs. So just finding where works for you. If you feel like it's too much of an arc on that lower back, just bring that blanket a little bit higher up the back. Or if you want a little more opening through the heart center, you can bring the blanket lower down towards the mid-back. So finding your space, again, you can always close those eyes or just find one spot to gently gaze at. Maybe try softening that area around the eyes, softening through the jaw, creating a little space between the upper and the lower teeth. Just allowing those shoulders to rest on the mat or the blanket. And just feeling that breath come back to its natural depth and pace. Three more full breaths here. Again, if you have a few more minutes, feel free to stay here. Otherwise, you can slowly make your way back up to a seat. Maybe take a few seated cat and cows as you inhale and lift the heart and the shoulders draw back. And exhaling as you round the shoulders forward and the belly draws in. And coming back to a seat. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that mood feels a little bit lifted, a little more elevated, a little more open throughout, not only the body, but the mind as well. So I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Namaste.